Senators, today's bill is a tax exemption for military retirement pension pays. So you might be wondering why we would do this. Well, why we would do this is to incent more veterans to come to the state of Idaho to help with our labor shortage. There was information was put out January of this year from the Department of Labor about our shortage in the state of Idaho with veterans and employment opportunities. And what I mean by that is we are losing on average about 1% of veterans every single year. You might say, well, that's not a whole lot of veterans. We got a lot of aged veterans and stuff like that. But the issue is we're losing these veterans because of lack of incentives for veterans to come to the state of Idaho. My personal experience, if you look at it, when I went through our program, when you get out of the military, they show you, at least for me, because I retired, they show you different states and the best places to go in the country for retirement, where your buck is going to go the farthest. Idaho is not one of those states, and when it came to me and they asked where I was going, and I said Idaho, they actually tried to talk me out of it. The reason for that is there's just not a whole lot of benefits for retirees to come to the state of Idaho, when there's so many other states out there that offer much better incentives. But you might be asking yourself why I came here. Well, I made a promise to my wife that when I retired, we would move back to Idaho because this is where her family is, and this is where she wanted to be. If it wasn't for her, I would have probably gone to Texas or Arizona. So with this, Idaho's got a major labor shortage that we're well aware of, and some information I'll share with you from mentioned group. Idaho ranks 5th in the nation in terms of percentage decline in veteran population. We've decreased 10% from the year 2000 to 2020. And like I said, the VA is tracking this, and Idaho's we're losing its veteran population per year right now at about 1.02%. Veterans bring with them a lot of skills. The average veteran has a much higher education currently, and I'm talking about the average veteran, I'm talking about post 9/11 veterans with the benefits they get from college. We're sitting at a much higher average than normal for those. About 1/3 have a college degree, and more than that have some college experience. Veterans bring with them, I'm going to upsell myself here, veterans bring with themselves soft skills that many businesses look forward to: time management, teamwork, leadership, inspiration, and know how to motivate people to work and get the jobs done. So employer respondents to the Idaho Labor's 2023 Business Climate Survey reported that such skills that these veterans bring are currently lacking in the workforce and expect an increased demand for them in the coming years. Many employers prefer hiring veterans, and job search tools like Idaho Works allow employers to identify veteran job seekers. And they come with them, like I said, a lot more experience, a willingness to work, and to fill these labor markets that we're sitting with. Some of the good things about veterans is, for example, when I retired out of the Marine Corps, I still had 6 years on a top secret clearance. Veterans or jobs like Micron, that can save them up to $100,000 for their semiconductor work. They don't have to pay for this. That's a great incentive for them to want to hire veterans. We also come with us education benefits that are spectacular and amazing, and a lot of reason why people join the military. So they'd be bringing with themselves their families to be able to go to college, to get a higher education, to help out our communities, and then go into the workforce here in the state of Idaho. And what's great about the new post 9/11 GI Bill is it's actually transferable to family members. It's not just for me. My children will be able to utilize it if I so choose, and my wife can utilize it as well if she so chooses, but she's already got a degree, so she shouldn't need it. But that's the gist of it, and why we would do it is to get veterans to come to the state of Idaho, help fill our labor force with experience, work that they can bring. And with that, I open debate.
Is there further debate? I would remind the body that there might need to be some disclosure here. So during the debate, I think it's proper to do that. As the way I read the bill, it cuts off at age 65, so you all do the math, and if you're younger than that, then you probably, I would rule you need to declare. Senator Foreman.
Thank you, Mr. President, to debate the bill.
Senator Foreman, you have the floor to debate.
Just out of caution, I guess I'll go ahead and give you my 39H. I'm older than 65, but what the heck.
You're outside of the bill.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
You look a lot younger, though.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Might not after the end of the session, but who knows. This bill deals with tax breaks for veterans. The state of Idaho, I just recently found out, actually is very gracious with its tax breaks for veterans based on age, which I qualified for, and also for disability. This bill represents a carve-out. I generally don't like carve-outs for a number of reasons. Our vets are citizens just like any other citizen, and I think it's not expecting too much for veterans to pay their fair share of the taxes. Granted, they're veterans, but they're also Idahoans, and they live here. And if we carve out a tax break for any specific group, in essence, what it does is it spreads the tax burden onto the remaining members of the group. And I don't think that's fair. Now, keep in mind, there are, like I mentioned, tax breaks already for disabled veterans and for elderly veterans. And I think that's appropriate. But to transfer the tax burden onto the rest of Idaho's society, I don't think is fair. And I think I have earned the right over 30 years in the military to say what I'm saying. I would love a tax break. It would put a lot of money back into my pocket. But I don't want it if I have to spread that burden onto someone else. So reluctantly, I won't be able to support the bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
The senator did make a declaration under the Senate rule. It will be noted in the journal.
Mr. President.
Senator Schroeder.
Thank you, Mr. President, for a declaration under Rule 39H. Having attained the age of 58 years, but having retired in the year 2007, I make an annual retirement salary of $35,184. Approval of this bill would put $2,040.67 into my pocket. Therefore, it would appear that my vote on this bill would be a direct pecuniary benefit to me in that amount. So of all the 39 H's I've ever declared, this one is straight on. That's all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for that oversharing.
Mr. President.
The declaration will be noted in the journal. Seriously, if it affects you, you should declare.
Thank you, Mr. President. To debate the bill,
Senator Just, you have the floor.
I do not need to declare 39H because although I served, I did not retire from the Marine Corps. But I am in support of this bill. It's difficult to get hard numbers for this because the Tax Commission doesn't keep numbers, neither does the Department of Labor. But we have veterans who live across the state line and drive or fly into Idaho now to work here. They live there because they don't want to be paying the Idaho taxes. I'd like to collect those taxes. I don't know how much it is, but I think that in the long run, and I hope it's not too long a run, maybe 5, 6, 7 years, we would see this turn around so that we got that estimated $12 million back from tax revenues and begin to go the other direction with it, collect more taxes, in fact. So, and I would like to thank the senators from 8, 6, 12, and anyone else for their service. Appreciate that. And last thing I would say is that military veterans tend to lean Republican, if that matters to you.
Is there further debate?
Mr. President, I'm leaning I would stand and declare a Rule 39H. I'm less than 65, but will be receiving a pension when I reach that age.
Thank you, Senator. Your declaration will be noted in the Journal. Is there further debate? Hearing none. Senator Treacle, you're recognized to close the debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to mention, is this a carve-out? And it was brought up that whenever we do a carve-out, it puts the burden onto other Idahoans. I asked the question, we're doing a carve-out, why do we have to put that burden on other Idahoans? Here's an idea. Shrink that much of the budget, put that on the government, not the individual. And I think that's the problem we have with government today. Every time we hear about reduction in something, we got to tax somebody else more. That's completely false. We can shrink the size of government. That is an option. And I'd like to point out that the shrink in this is only $12 million. That's it, $12 million. And that's currently right now. The military pension system has changed, and after 2018, there's going to be a significant difference, and we're not even going to see this much of a charge. Veterans, when they move back into the civilian sector, typically make about $10,000 more than their civilian counterparts. This has the potential, by bringing more veterans here, to make up for that measly $12 million that the state of Idaho would be losing. Just to go into the math a little bit, Idaho roughly has about 122,000 veterans, and these numbers come from the VA and the Department of Defense. Of those, 15,000 are retired members. Of those 15,000, you're roughly looking 14,000 receive retirement pension. I'm not sure how that works, but apparently there's about X amount that don't receive a pension. On top of that, you have, and I'm not going to get too deep into it, what's called disability and VA offsets. With this, after you subtract these veterans, you have about 4,500 veterans that end up paying the income tax in the state of Idaho on their pensions. I myself, for example, am a VA offset. I do not pay state income tax on my retirement pension. Hence why I'm not declaring a 39H. This bill would not affect me. I already receive tax income break. 4,500 veterans do not. And like I said, this would drive more work here, get more veterans, increase in crucial job demand skills that we need, and help out businesses that want them. But to talk about tax carve-outs, why would we do this tax carve-out? Well, this tax carve-out is to be done to drive employment numbers in the state of Idaho. And this body typically does that all the time. For example, in the state of Idaho, all businesses are eligible for 3% investment tax credit on all new tangible personal property, personal property tax exemption on the first $250,000 of personal property, 5% tax credit on qualified research expenses, and Idaho's electricity companies offer energy conservation rebates through efficient energy use up to $100,000. Businesses also have the Idaho Business Advantage. Businesses that invest at least $500,000 in new facilities and creates at least 10 new jobs, paying at $40,000 a year, they get an enhanced investment tax credit on tangible personal property of 3.75%, new job tax credit, $15,000 to $3,000, a 2.5 investment tax credit on real property, 25% rebate on sales tax paid during the project period, and upon request of the business, the local county commissioners may also authorize a partial or full property tax exemption for up to 5 years. They have the tax reimbursement incentive. I'm not going to go into all these because I'd be here all day. So I'm just going to read them by title that businesses can get. 100% sales tax exemption, Idaho Semiconductors for America Act, data center sales tax exemption, workforce development training fund programs, college saving program employer tax credit. Oh, wait a minute, there's more. STEP grant export promotions, economic development grants, Idaho Global Entrepreneurial Mission Program, Idaho Broadband Grant Program, cap on property tax, capital investment property tax exemption, and the Opportunity Fund. That's a lot of carve-outs, but why do we do it? To increase jobs and to draw in employers. We need to bring in the employees to fill these jobs. So I find it funny that we're going to sit here and give 20 plus carve-outs for businesses, but when we talk for Idahoans that it could benefit and come here and make more money for the state of Idaho, we're hesitant on it. So I would ask for you to just think about that today. It doesn't need to be a $12 million shift to a taxpayer. It can be a $12 million decrease in the budget, which would probably be what, 0.01% each agency? Consider that when you vote. Thank you. And with that, Mr. President, debate is closed.
Debate is closed. The question before the Senate is, shall Senate Bill 1428 pass the Senate? The Secretary will call the roll.
Adams.
Mr. President.
Senator Adams, you have 60 seconds to explain your vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a $12 million reduction in revenue. There is no tax shift because we spend what we have. It's called the balanced budget amendment that we have in our Constitution. So it is absolutely just a flat, you're just not taking their money. This makes sense from an Idaho industry perspective and also upholding Idaho's military-friendly reputation that we have here. And so the senator from District 12 votes aye.
Senator Adams votes aye.
Anthon. Aye. Burnt. Aye. Bierke. Burtenshaw. Aye. Carlson. Cook. Den Hartog. Foreman. Grow. Guthrie. Harris. Hart. Hartgen. Herndon. Just. Blakey. Lee. Lenny. Lent. Nichols. Okonowitz. Robbie. Ricks. Schroeder. Semmelroth. Shea. Taylor. Taves. Trakel. Van Orden. Ward-Ingle-King. Winder. Wintro. Seiderveld. Bierke. Carlson. Herndon. Lee. Nichols. Schroeder. Semmelroth.
Senator Shea, how did you vote? Senator Shea votes aye. Yes, no. The vote count shows 22 in favor with 10 against and 3 absent. A majority having voted in the affirmative, Senate Bill 1428 has passed the Senate. Hearing no correction of title, the title is approved and the bill will be transmitted to the House.